Let's talk really quickly about knowing your hunting knives. You do not need to be a hunter to sell a ton of these things. A lot of people ask about the differences between the types of hunting knives. You don't need to be an expert about all the little details of what makes everyone different, but a basic working knowledge is really helpful when you're working with people that are going to be in the market for this type of product. Let's talk about the customizable ones. Okay? The best way to sell these is to really focus on the fact that it really is a way to customize their own hunting knife. But you have to know kind of what's the difference between them. When it comes to the shape of the blade, this is a clip point. It sort of slides like that. This is a drop point that goes that way. A clip point is good for piercing. It's a kind of all-purpose hunting, camping, fishing type knife. I keep one of these in my toolkit with a double D edge, and so if I'm just wanting to slice some stuff up, just kind of bang it around, it's a really good choice for that. The downside to a clip point is if you're skinning, you never want to pierce the organs. I won't get super gross for our non-hunters, but if you pierce the organs, it taints the meat. And so because this comes to a really fine point, you're much more likely to do that. That's why for skinning, this isn't the best choice. So if someone's looking at a hunting knife, it's a great thing to ask, are you looking for something for skinning or just an all-purpose tool? All-purpose, your clip point, it's a pretty solid choice. The drop point is made with skinning in mind. When you're doing this, you tend to end up going at a lot of different angles, working your way down, getting around the breastbones, the plates, and so this rounded tip is made to where it's easier to actually get in there, and you're less likely to pierce any of the organs. The handle material, it's actually called Kraton, but I think that's trademarked now and we use a different term. But anyway, it is made to stay tacky in your hand if it gets water, blood, or grease. It's going to maintain a really, really nice grip. The gut hook is all about preference. Some people when they're skinning prefer just a traditional blade. Some prefer the gut hook. What do you use a gut hook? Well, you make an incision, you slide this in, and zoop. Think of it like a zipper. It's kind of gross, but that's what you do. It slides right in here in the hide, and so again, that way you're not going to pierce anything, and you work your way up. That's the first customization, is the style of blade. For the handle color, most people who hunt, they always like the look of the black one, but there's a reason why if you go to Cabela's, you see a ton of orange hunting gear. It's easier to find if you drop it, and you're less likely to misplace it. Let's go back to the all-purpose question, though, about the edge. Okay, serrated edges are not a great choice when you are cutting raw meat. All right, serrated edges aren't usually what you use. That's why our boning knife has a straight edge. That's why our salmon knife has a straight edge. So it's not a weird thing for a customer to request a straight edge. If they like sharpening their knives and they're good at doing it, that's fine. Go ahead and sell them that straight edge and don't worry about it. But the double D edge, the way you want to explain it to people is that, hey, I know you would not use a serrated edge when you're actually dressing your game. Double D edge cuts like a straight edge. It's 3 recessed straight edges. The points are just there to protect the edges. That's what keeps it sharp so long. And explain to them that, look, if you use a straight edge, ours will stay sharp longer than any other out there on the market, but at the same time, you're going to need to touch it up pretty routinely to keep a nice edge on it. It's always easier to keep a knife sharp than to sharpen a dull knife. So if they have a straight edge, you want them to have a good routine of touching it up, just like they would any other knife. Ours is just going to use better steel and last longer. Double D edge is going to be one that you always want to recommend factory sharpening, but they should be able to go through 5 to 7 large game on average. You know, we're talking caribou, deer, that sort of thing. And if they know what they're doing, if they're not nicking the bone, I've seen customers go through as many as 25 whitetail without ever having to have it sharpened or serviced. So with this though, I always recommend factory sharpening at the end of the season. Go ahead and send it in, let us apply a brand new factory edge. Home sharpening is a great service, but for hunting knives, there's a normal, acceptable amount of wear and tear. You want to let them just grind that edge off, apply a new factory edge. Your customers will be much more satisfied. When it comes to the fishing knife, I think all of you guys are pretty familiar with how to sell a Fisherman's solution. One of the things a lot of people underlook though is convenience of having an extra blade. So one of the best packages you can do if you sell a fishing knife and a hunting knife, go ahead and throw in an extra blade for free. It's on the accessory price list. Tell them to keep it in their tackle box, and that way they can always switch it out anytime they want to send one in for servicing. Beyond that, I'll let you guys go over the unique features of this yourself. I'm sure you've all sold a few fishing knives. What about our classic hunting knife? Now this has the thermoresin handle. It's a little bit dressier, and it is a nice option. I have a customer that leads moose hunting expeditions up in Alaska, and they filmed them for the Outdoor Life Network and some other cool things. He always buys these when he is leading big expeditions. People pay a lot of money for this. When he's using this, he can go through, you know, the amount of moose he can do with one is incredible, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can dole it out in half a moose. Now, a moose is a really extreme example, but he likes this because it's dressy, it's traditional. If someone likes a buck knife, something kind of classic and classy, they tend to be drawn towards this one. Shape is more towards that clip point. It's very versatile. Last but not least, the Ka-Bar knives. Now, here's what you have to understand. These are not hunting knives. I mean, it's as simple as that. So if you want to maintain credibility with people that really hunt, these are outdoor knives. The reason it's called the Outdoorsman, this is great for camping, this is great for backpack, a variety of applications you'd use a survival knife. The Explorer is modeled after the Marine Corps survival knife. That's why you have both the double D-edge for cutting rope, cord, and twine. You have a straight edge with this tip. If you did need to use it for some game type applications, it also tapers off here. You can really pierce things with it. Has a reinforced butt, so, bam, bam. So again, this really is a survival knife. This is more for if you're gonna be backpacking for a long period of time, and it's not really just about hunting or skinning, but just a general all-purpose tool. This is it, giant chunk of steel. These have this black epoxy coating to help reduce corrosion. Last thing, probably worth mentioning, is the sheaths. I do really like the sheaths for the Ka-Bar knives. They're Kydex sheaths. Kydex is a very tough material, but a lot of you may not know this. This part of the Outdoorsman sheath comes off, and this is MOLLE compliant. If you see backpacks or gun cases or things where they have that webbing or lacing, that's MOLLE. It's M-O-L-L-E. This is made where you can lace that up, and it's a compression sheath. So you slide that in there, holds on nice and tight, depress with your thumb, you're good to go. Explorer, I've got the ZK. This is an old school discontinued one. Again, it's a compression sheath. You'll see this right here actually catches the bolster of the knife. So we slide this in, give it a good push so it locks in. You can put this snap over the top. It's a good idea too, that's for sure. And this part is not removable like it is on the Outdoorsman. But you simply give it a push, slides right out. Again, this is MOLLE compliant, where you can lace it up. For people who really know what they're doing, that's a nice thing. You don't need to be an expert on this stuff, but just giving people a little bit of a background, being able to answer a few questions, and I think having some engraved samples is great. I've got some with the military logos. I think that's really good. I've got some with the handle engraved with people's names. I've sold those for wedding parties. I've sold those for Christmas gifts. I sold those as corporate gifts. Having some with the logos on it is a great thing. And even having just some of your hunting knives with some traditional standard engraving is easy to do. All these things are great, but hunting and fishing knives can be a really awesome addition to your game. Make sure you have your samples ready, and I would watch Dante Reynolds' hunting knife approach. He's got a great script for how to actually go out there and sell some. I want to throw a quick postscript to that video. Literally right as I finished filming, I had a gentleman come up and grab the hunting knife to take a look at it, Guthook. I told him a little bit about it and used that to transition into the actual scripts. Keep in mind that getting good at hunting knives and things like that, it's never going to replace what we already know and what we're good at, but it's a great way to generate interest. It's a great way to get your foot in the door and go into our traditional scripts. So yes, I sold this guy that Guthook and he's fired up, but I upsold him a SIG, upsold steak knives, upsold a cleaver, upsold a wellness mat. So learn your stuff, get good at it. If all they want's a hunting knife, great, but just understand the value of Cutco comes in our main kitchen sets and products, but those things can be a hell of a great complement, and when you get good at one, it makes you better at the other.
You can go with this, or you can go with that.